What if I told you right now that you can use sound to induce healing in your body? This might sound crazy, but look at this. If you look at different frequencies of sound, every different frequency can do something in your body. And so in this video right here, we're going to see exactly like what are these different frequencies? Why do they induce certain healing in your body? Or it might cause disease. Like you'll see that sometimes when you listen to certain music, it actually causes disease and you don't even know it. So we'll see exactly like how this whole thing work, because this whole thing is so beautiful, but for some reason most people just never know about it.
Some call these frequencies the holy tones. Others refer to these distinctive sounds by their proper name, the solfeggio frequencies. At the heart of solfeggio frequencies is the belief that the vibrational signature of certain sounds, ranging from 174 Hz to 963 Hz, can highly impact our mental, physical, and spiritual health. So let's take a closer look at this mysterious phenomenon.
By the way, let me tell you something. So here he's going to be talking about the sacred frequencies or the holy frequencies and what they are and what they do. But understand that these frequencies are all around you. They're all around you. So sometimes even when you're watching a TV, it has a certain frequency that does something to you. So sometimes it might put you in a trance and you lose awareness. Or sometimes when you listen to certain music, it has a specific frequency that when you listen to it, it's like they call it the devilish frequency, where it makes you like super unaware, fall into sin, succumb to your lower self, things like that. So these things are so important, because if you don't know these, they're going to keep working on you in the background without you knowing what's happening to you.
The ancient solfeggio scale, known as just intonation, is renowned for its use in the Gregorian chants, but its history can be traced back to biblical times. The 6-tone scale, and an additional 3 tones discovered since, is considered by many musicologists and scientists to have a positive effect on the mind and body. Back in the 11th century, a Benedictine monk named Guido di Arezzo introduced the musical scale we now know as the solfeggio frequencies, though modern research contests that the scale dates back much further. The monks used the original 6 solfeggio notes in their Gregorian chants, which we now know consist of the frequencies 396, 417, 528, 639, 741, and 852 Hz. Unfortunately, by the 16th century, the scale was lost, though the exact cause is unknown. Some say the solfeggio was abandoned for a new music scale. Others argue that it disappeared among Western Europe's Middle Ages political and religious turmoil, and there are even some who posit some more, well, conspiratorial theories, from biblical secrets to plots by the Roman Catholic Church. But why exactly is this important? Why should you care how musicians tune their work? It's important because many argue that we lost more than a simple musical scale when the solfeggio scale was replaced. The solfeggio scale is mathematically consistent with the patterns of our universe. Solfeggio frequencies are a set of 9 electromagnetic tones that are required to have the power to heal and raise consciousness. This ancient scale has far-reaching potential, from repairing emotional trauma and opening up spiritual consciousness to deepening our relationships and altering DNA.
By the way, this whole thing about altering DNA, it might sound crazy, but Habibi, I talked a lot about that in the past. I talked a lot about that, and you should know by now that this whole thing is very possible. But listen, you know this whole thing. If you read this book, I forgot what it's called, but it's a biography of John D. Rockefeller. You will see that John D. Rockefeller, the billionaire, he's the one that replaced medicine from going from herbal medicine to the pharmaceutical stuff, like the drugs, the oil-based medicine. He's the one that he changed the entire system. You know, the school system that we use nowadays. Before, we didn't used to use that, but now we use that because of him. And he also changed the whole thing about sound. So he went from a specific frequency. I forgot which one it was. I think it was the 423 or the 432 or the 417. I forgot what it was, to be honest, but we'll see in this video. To a different frequency, the one that they call the devilish frequency. So this is very important because we went through a shift. If you look at people back in the day, people weren't as dumb or as devilish or satanic as they are right now. And there was a whole reason for that. Like, you look at everybody, what's the most common thing that people usually do? All of them, they have AirPods and earphones in their ears. And that's destroying them. because of the frequencies they're listening to.
The atoms in our bodies, the molecules and atoms in inanimate objects, thoughts, and sounds, all things in our universe are in motion, vibrating. Even the planet itself vibrates and resonates at its own frequency. The human ear can only hear a limited range of vibrations per second. In science, the number of vibrations per second is known as frequency, measured in hertz. The human ear is only capable of hearing sounds that vibrate at the frequency of 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. At the heart of solfeggio frequencies is the belief that the vibrational signature of certain sounds, ranging from 174 Hz to 963 Hz, can positively impact our mental, physical, and spiritual health. They form the basis of ancient sacred music traditions dating back to the 8th century, such as the Gregorian chants and Indian Sanskrit chants. The solfeggio frequencies commonly associated with the Gregorian chants are a form of monophonic song of the Roman Catholic faith, dating back to the 9th and 10th centuries. Solfeggio fundamental sounds were used in both Western Christianity and Eastern Indian religions, chanted by the Gregorian monks and in ancient Indian Sanskrit chants. Physician and researcher Dr. Joseph Puleo rediscovered solfeggio frequencies in the 1970s, bringing their benefits back into public awareness. In his research, he used mathematical numeral reduction to identify 6 measurable tones that bring the body back into balance and aid in healing. Dr. Joseph Puleo was inspired to use Pythagorean math to examine the Book of Numbers in the Old Testament Bible. He discovered that when looked at through the Pythagorean method of number reduction, the Old Testament's Book of Numbers contained a repeating pattern. Pythagoras was an ancient Greek mathematician. He's most famous for his Pythagorean theorem, which explains the relation between sides of a right triangle using the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Not only was Pythagoras important to math, but he also had a tremendous impact on the ancient Greek philosophers, from Plato to Socrates. The Pythagorean method used by Dr. Puleo requires one to add all of the digits of a larger number together. For instance, the number 18 would become 9. If the result is still a multi-digit number, the process is repeated. 184 is reduced to 13, which is reduced to 4. When Dr. Puleo applied this method to chapter 7, starting with verse 12, he noticed a pattern developing with every 6th verse. Verses 12, 18, 24, 30, and so on repeat sequence 396.
By the way, this is so important because this is the type of stuff that you guys also need to start knowing because I'm so curious. I feel like if some scholar comes and starts doing this exact science right here on the Quranic verses, on the Quran, I'm pretty sure you'll start finding some crazy things, some miraculous things. So just this idea of when you have a number and then you reduce it, like you add them all together, and if you still get a 2-digit or more number, you still reduce it and you add it up, because that's going to give you what's the foundation of this big number. So for example, you'll see all these like 417, 7 plus 5. Hold on, let me just do some quick math. 10, 12. That equals to 3. So 417, 4 plus 1 is 5, 5 plus 7 is what? The heck? Hold on, let me just use my brain because I just did the math. And it gives you 3. I need to double make sure because my brain is, because you know how I drank coffee right now? My brain is a bit off. But it always gives you a number, like the good frequencies, they always give you a number of 3, 6, 9. And that is why Nikola Tesla, he said that there's a secret behind the 3, 6, and 9. So learn about these things. Learn like how to, like when you look at certain ayats or certain, like you look at the letters of the ayats, add them all together, and then do this whole thing again, and then you'll see like it'll give you a certain number. So these numbers are important because every single number has a deep meaning behind it. So 3 has a deep meaning behind it. 4 has a deep meaning behind it. 9 has a deep meaning behind it. And these things actually matter. You might not think they do, but they actually do.
Verse 13, 19, 25, 31, and so on repeated 417.
Yeah, see, 417, that gives you, I believe, 12, and then 12 gives you 3. So that is also 3 is amongst the 369.
396 and 417 are the first two frequencies in the solfeggio, and Dr. Pulio uncovered a further 3 frequencies by repeating this process, which now forms an extension to the scale. So in the modern day, we have the original ancient 6 frequencies and a further modern 3. Dr. Pulio unearthed 3 new frequencies in the scale during his research. 174 Hz, associated with pain reduction and anesthetic properties. 285 Hz, associated with cellular repair, body regeneration, and better immunity. 963 Hz, associated with spiritually awakening and connecting to the oneness of the universe. If we continue to apply the Pythagorean method to the solfeggio frequencies, we find that each of them adds up to 3, 6, or 9.
And this is important, by the way. You'll see the meaning behind 3, 6, and 9. But also, the Quran, they measured the frequency of the Quran when it's recited, and it actually matched to these things. That is why Allah says that just the recitation of the Quran induces healing. Like I always wondered, I'm like, how is just the recitation of the Quran is going to induce healing within you? I'm like, I thought this was impossible. But Allah says like this Quran was sent down as a shifa as well. This is why sound can heal you. You see why I'm like, this is so important to know these things, because Allah even says, is the one that know equal to the one that doesn't know? But no, they're not equal. The one that knows is better than the one that doesn't know. You see why it's very important for you to come and learn about just these sciences that for some reason we never talk about. The power of sound, the power of numbers. You see what I mean?
And there are 2 frequencies in the original scale that include the numbers 3, 6, and 9. These solfeggio frequencies were believed to profoundly affect the conscious and subconscious mind in order to stimulate healing and promote vitality. Thanks to Pulio's work and the renewed interest, many scientists have since unearthed more evidence supporting the positive effects that these frequencies have on the human body. Based on the research of musicologist Professor Willie Appel, it's likely the scale was first introduced by Guido di Arezzo, a Benedictine monk. Monks of this order of the Catholic Church followed the rule of Saint Benedict. The earliest example of the scale was his musical rendition of the hymn to Saint John the Baptist, or Utque and Laxis, based on an 8th century poem attributed to another monk named Paulus Diaconus. These frequencies are also said to have healing attributes. 396 Hz. The first is thought to help liberate us from guilt and fear, which is arguably one of the biggest obstacles we face. 400.
So this is 417. But let me tell you something. This is going to blow your mind, by the way. You know that the number 9 is equal to the number 0? Now you might think, like, how is that even possible? So when you add up all these numbers like this, so 4, 1, 7, this gives you 12, and this gives you 3 after. But if there was a 9 right here, right? Let's just pretend this was 419. If there was a 9, it wouldn't even matter. It's the same as if there was a 0. Because anytime you would add up the numbers, it's always going to give you the same number as if the 9 was just a 0. So let's just do the math, right? So 410, it'll give you 5. 4 plus 1 plus 0 is 5. Okay, so 419, 419, 4, 5, 5 plus 9, 14. 14 is 1 plus 4 is 5. It's the same thing. It's almost like it was 4 plus 1, as if like the 9 wasn't even there. This should show you that the 9 is a number that's independent. You put the 9 in whatever number, it's almost like it's independent. That's why the number 9 is the most powerful number. It's like it's not even there. It's like it doesn't even connect with the other numbers, which is so interesting. And this is why Allah in the Quran, Allah always mentioned numbers. And I've always wondered, it's like, what's the significance of these numbers? So for example, let me tell you something, right? For example, there's this ayah that says that on the day of judgment, the throne of Allah is going to be held by 8 angels. 8 angels. Why is it that it's held by 8 angels? Think about this. Who is the 9th? Allah is the 9th. The 9 is independent. So even within that ayah, Allah is still telling you, I am independent from my creation. Like, isn't that insane? Do you see why I'm saying like these numbers are so important to learn? Do you see what I'm saying? 8 angels are holding the throne because Allah is the 9th. And the 9 is independent from all the other numbers. The 9 is like the most powerful number. Even within that, like, it shows you how miraculous the Quran is. with like such minute details. Allah still cares about it to show you that, listen, Allah is one. Allah is independent from everything. And that's very powerful, man. Like just that in of itself is very powerful. So you see what I mean by it's very important for you to learn about what all these numbers do. What's the significance of these numbers? Like what's the significance of the number 8? Number 8 is like infinity, right? And I heard that the number 8 it showed you basically it's like the number of wealth. Wealth. So like if you're connected to the number 8, you're the type of person that gets wealth very easily. We'll talk more about that though.
117 hertz. The second helps with the undoing of situations and facilitating change in our lives. It's said to alleviate the conscious and subconscious mind from past traumatic experiences. 528 hertz. The third is perhaps the most famous of the frequencies because of its reputation for creating profound transformations and miracles. It's even been linked to the repair of human DNA, the most basic building blocks of our bodies and minds. 639 hertz. The fourth is said to improve our connection and relationships with the people around us. This includes healing strained relationships and creating new ones. 741 hertz. The fifth is connected to expression and solutions, helping us open up and share our gifts with the world more fully. 852 hertz. The sixth and final of the original notes returns us to the spiritual order, improving our access to the spiritual or sublime. Mother Earth's natural heartbeat rhythm is the frequency of 7.83 hertz, also known as the Schumann resonance. A 7.83 hertz frequency is an alpha-theta brainwave frequency in the human brain. Alpha-theta brainwave frequency is a relaxed, dreamy, sleepy state that's also when cell regeneration and healing happen. It's no surprise that people nowadays, especially in bigger cities, are unbalanced, irritated, reactive, and angry, and diseases are rising in astronomical numbers.
By the way, sorry, even disease is like a frequency. So if your body frequency is high, that means disease can't even touch it. And this is why I even tell my wife, I'm like, you need to constantly be in a high vibration. What that means, just constantly be feeling emotions that are high. How do you do that? Like if you're listening to the Quran has a specific frequency, and it's always going to get you high. It's always going to make you feel high. High, not in the dumb sense that some of you guys might think, but high in the sense that you feel good, you feel gratitude, you feel bliss, you feel love. Love is a very high frequency, by the way. And then if you're feeling like that, disease can't even touch you. Like if you're, that's why they say like laughter can kill disease. Why can it kill disease? Because you're feeling high. Laughter is a high vibrational emotion. And so, by the way, let me tell you something as well. When you're learning about all these things, don't be thinking that this is bid'ah or this is like shirk, especially shirk. Don't be thinking that this is shirk, because that's so silly. Like, imagine thinking like Allah has put all these beautiful sciences within the world around you just because you haven't learned about them and you don't understand them. Don't be thinking that these things are like shirk. The only reason why you think they're shirk is because you're not understanding them. You're not understanding them. When you understand them, you're like, wow, this is subhanallah. Like Allah is such a beautiful creator that He created all these things. When someone's learning about medicine and they're learning about like the cell and how things work within the cell, when you learn about the mitochondria, when you learn about the nucleus, when you learn about electrons, even when you just learn about these things, it just makes you think like subhanallah. Like even down to the details, Allah has created all these things, and it makes you have more appreciation of Allah. But the only reason why sometimes you might think that these knowledges, like the knowledge of numbers, for example, you might be like, oh, it's just some shirk stuff, it's some bid'ah stuff, because you're not understanding it. Once you understand it, you'll be like, this is beautiful. So just because it's not taught in school doesn't mean that it's shirk. This is what I find so silly. You're like, oh, it's not taught in school, it's automatically shirk. Nah, habibi. Yeah, this is just so beautiful. Like there's so much stuff that Allah has put in the world that we're so unaware of, and the more you learn about it, the more it's like so endless.
The electromagnetic fields generated by power supply systems, telecommunications, appliances, computers, and other technology produced by humans are extremely powerful, and in some cases have been associated with increased incidences of cancer, heart disease, depression, and other diseases. Exposure to strong electromagnetic fields in residential areas and in certain occupations has been documented as significantly increasing the incidence or risk of some diseases. Certain groups of people, such as the elderly, children, pregnant women, and the weak, have been found to be more sensitive or susceptible.
Hold on, man. Why did that guy show a masked person when he was saying the week? There was a guy on Twitter that says that he lives in a jungle, and so he's not really exposed to the EMF that we're mostly exposed to. Like right now, I'm wearing AirPods, right? AirPods have a very high EMF, so it's basically cooking my brain in real time. I'm sitting next to a mic, next to a charger, next to a Mac, next to a light, next to a phone, next to another Mac, next to lights. So I'm basically bathing in the EMF radiation. So I'm getting destroyed right now. But if I was right now, if I was living in a jungle and I lived there for like 3 months, for example, and then I come and I put myself in this area, you'll notice that my body is going to become so sensitive to these things to the point that I'll definitely be getting a disease. But right now, it's like almost like my body started to like get accustomed to it, and so a little bit of poison can actually make you immune. So it almost like it made like my body now knows how to attack these things and become immune to these things. So you'll see if someone goes from like a place with no EMF to a place with filled with EMF, they'll get disease. And pregnant women, older people, younger people, they're more prone to these things because they're not used to it. So the way for you to like be immune to it, like a small dose of poison can actually make you immune, but also at the same time, keep your vibration high. Listen to the Quran every morning. Read the Quran with your own voice. Your own voice. Do dhikr so you can almost like have like an invisible shield around you that protects you from these things. Because understand, it's not you're not just getting protection from like the shaitan only, but also from the devices of the shaitan. So these things, these technologies, you might think they're harmless, but they're so harmful. So protect yourself against these things by keeping yourself in dhikr constantly. Always be putting your attention on Allah. Wherever you put your attention, you're basically putting your energy. So if your attention is always on Allah, always on the Creator, always on the one being the one Creator, then you'll be having a high frequency, high vibration.
To adverse effects from these fields than the rest of the population. The solfeggio frequencies have positive effects because they resonate in harmony with the Schumann resonance of 8 Hz. Musically speaking, the frequencies are derived by beginning at 8 Hz and working up the musical scale octave until the C note is vibrating at the 256 Hz frequency, and the A note is vibrating at 432 Hz. When music is tuned to harmonize with this frequency, it's known as scientific tuning. It's been proven by scientific experiments that by tuning into 7.83 Hz, the planet's own magnetic frequency, people experience benefits like enhanced learning, memory, body rejuvenation, balance, improved stress tolerance, anti-jet lag, anti-mind control, and grounding. On the other hand, experiments were done where Schumann resonance, the exposure of 7.83 Hz frequency, was removed from the individual's environment. The subjects reported migraine headaches, emotional distress, and other health problems. This shows how important it is to be in tune with the Earth's magnetic frequency.
Well, sound healing is basically.
By the way, this is very important. Also, that's why you should always be like you should always go back to nature. Nature. Nature just puts you back in your like recalibrates you, puts you back in your real state. That's why there's a forest right there. Literally right there. Right there. I picked this house because I'm like, well, okay, I'm surrounded here by EMF. Okay, if I ever want to do like some cleansing, just go out right there in the backyard, and then all of a sudden I'm just like surrounded by the beautiful frequency of the earth, and it puts you back in balance. You know, there's the what's it called? Those Aboriginal people, the ones that live in nature. You know what they said? They said something beautiful that kind of touched me, to be honest. Oh, you see how the sun is so beautiful on my face right now? Because of the direction, again, the direction. So they said that you guys go to your buildings to talk to God. We go to nature so God can talk to us. And I'm like, that's so beautiful. By the way, even the desert, you might look at the desert and be like, oh, it's just emptiness. It's not emptiness. It's like it's still the frequency of the earth. So it puts you back in your natural state. And it's so beautiful. Like there's no difference between the desert and the forest. They're both the creation of Allah and they're both in the raw state. So going back to the forest, going back to the desert, going on the beach, going on anything that is nature or natural will put you back in your natural states. And you should be doing that. This is what grounding is. And it's so beautiful. I'm just looking at the sun, man. The sun's so beautiful on the face.
it's the use of sound to bring us back into an aligned state in which our body can take care of itself. Our own natural immune system can kick in correctly, and we have research showing how this happens, so that we now become naturally stronger. I like to say we become in tune. Well, you could do either way depending upon your delta frequency tuning fork.
Researchers in the 1970s found that when exposed to solfeggio tones, the DNA in cells could better absorb ultraviolet light without damage. In another study, researchers exposed people to sounds at 432 Hz and later at 440 Hz. Participants had lower blood pressure and breathing rates and reported feeling more satisfied when listening to this frequency. Sound healing can also be a natural anesthetic, as it can help relieve pain. One study found that sounds at 432 Hz are beneficial in reducing dental anxiety and relieving pain during dental surgery. There's a palpable peace when we're absorbed in quiet, and a different kind of rejuvenation when we hear the wind in the trees.
By the way, that's why everything has a sound to it. So even if you go to nature, you'll always be hearing a sound. It's like almost like the earth's music, which is so beautiful. You go there and then you're just like, you can hear the wind, you can hear the leaves, you can hear the birds, you can hear the trees creaking, you can hear everything. And just that is music to the ears. And if you just attune to that, that's going to change your frequency. And that's so beautiful, man. Like you see, Allah has put all these things around you and they're so beautiful. And then we're sitting in our homes listening with our AirPods to some stupid music that's artificial. Stop doing that, man. And then you see people going to the forest with their speakers, like with music in it. Like, Habibi, you're in nature. Why are you listening to speakers with music in it? Just get aligned with nature. Stop listening to this music constantly.
Cacophony first, with the woodwinds and strings, horns and timpani making quite a ruckus. But when they tune their instruments precisely, the sound that washes over you like a wave can bring peace and excitement that surpasses some of the most invigorating practices on Earth, like skydiving or dropping 45 feet into a hidden cave. The body works in much the same way. If a single instrument plays its own tune and is not in harmony with the rest of the body, disease is more likely to happen. As sound therapist Dr. John Beaulieu, ND, PhD, explains, according to Dr. Leonard Horowitz,
there's only one number in the entire numbering system, whereby the electromagnetic color spectrum is the same as the sound system. That one number is 528.
In 2018, Akimoto and Yamaguchi conducted a study to examine the effect of 528 Hz music on the endocrine system and the autonomic nervous system, using objective and subjective measures, based on salivary biomarkers, electrocardiogram, and a mood state questionnaire. 9 healthy participants, 1 man and 8 women, aged 26 to 37 years, listened to 528 Hz and standard 440 Hz music on separate days. Investigators measured salivary biomarkers of stress, cortisol, chromogranin A, and oxytocin before and after exposure to music.
Let me tell you something. Sorry. I know I keep pausing, but this is important. Don't be thinking now that, oh, these guys, they did music therapy and all of a sudden they started healing from different diseases. So now that means that if I go and listen to Taylor Swift or Beyonce or Jay-Z, oh, all of a sudden now I can also induce healing. Don't be thinking that, bro. Understand that all music, doesn't matter what it is, most of it, the mainstream especially, most of them are not attuned to this frequency. Most of them are attuned to the frequency of the devil. They call it the frequency of the devil. So when you're listening to it, again, it's not the music, it's the frequency that's destroying you. The music creates that frequency, so it's going to destroy you. So even, I think when you see, like, there are some videos that say, oh, this is the Jay-Z song, but with 528 Hertz, so it's okay to listen to. Even that, I personally believe that even that doesn't work, because it's not just, it's the music itself, like the way they've made the music, that's going to make it a certain frequency that's bad. So even if they put a title that says 528 hertz song. I still don't believe in that, man. And you can try it if you want. If you don't believe me, go and try it. Go listen to it. See how it makes you feel. Literally, just see how it makes you feel. Because if it makes you feel a certain type of way, understand that the frequency of that song was not good. See how that makes you feel, and then go and listen to the Quran, and then see how that makes you feel. So much so to the point that even nasheed, Habibi, I'm sorry, man, but even sometimes nasheed, when you listen to it, the frequency is not good. Is it the fault of the producer or the singer and the nasheeder itself? Nasheeder, right? No, I don't even think it's the fault of the person that's doing the nasheed or the artist. I think it's just the nature of how music is made nowadays. They all put them in a specific frequency that's not good for you. Like I noticed this. I'm like, even when I listen to nasheed at times, I'm like, even me listening to this nasheed is not. It just like it puts some feeling in you that's not good. And don't be saying, "Oh, but that's weak, man. You're so weak. You can't even listen to music." It's not about that. It's like your body is a temple. Your body is the masjid. It's the Masjid al-Haram itself. So do you really want to put bad things into it? And yeah, I know you're going to be telling me, oh, but that's such a paradox. You're sitting here wearing AirPods, drinking cold coffee, surrounded by EMF, and now you're talking about these things. Still, man, like again, small dose of poison is fine, but if you go to the poison itself, that is not fine. Like I told you, you need to be sensitive to these things. So I've seen the effect of AirPods, what they do to you, and music, what they do to you. Music just lowers your awareness so much. It makes you go from like here to all the way to the like makes you live in lust, in jealousy, in hatred, and then you have to go all the way back up just so you can start living in gratitude again. You can start living in love again. So it changes you a lot, man. And again, even nasheed, I don't believe in nasheed, bro. I'm sorry. The only thing is just Quran, either Quran or just nature itself. Go to nature. That's what I believe in.
And continuously recorded the activity of the autonomic nervous system. The Profile of Mood State, second edition, was also administered as a subjective indicator of stress. In the 528 Hz condition, mean cortisol levels significantly decreased. Chromogranin A tended to decrease, and oxytocin significantly increased after music exposure. However, no significant change was observed in any salivary biomarkers in the 440 Hz condition. The ratio of low-frequency to high-frequency autonomic nervous system activity significantly decreased after exposure to both types of music. The coefficient
Sorry, man. I don't know. Keep pausing. But by the way, for those of you now that are gonna say, "Nah, this stuff doesn't really affect you," Habibi, are you seriously serious if you say that this stuff doesn't affect you? Are you serious if you say that music doesn't affect you, frequencies don't affect you? Go in nature right now. Just that's why I say be sensitive to your body. Be aligned, have like high awareness on what's happening within your body. Go to nature and just see the way you feel. Just put your awareness in every different part of your body. Put your awareness on the gut, see how it feels. Put your awareness on the heart, see how it feels. On the mind, see how it feels. And then go and listen to Beyonce. See how that makes you feel. Like the difference is night and day. Literally night and day. For me, right? Whenever I'm like sitting down and listening to the mainstream music, you know what it makes me feel? Bro, I'm not even joking. I just want to go pee or poop. Like when I just listen to it, I'm like, bro, I need to go poop. Bro, I need to go pee. Like sometimes if I can't poop, I'm like, okay, let me just turn on some of those dumb music. And then I'm like, all right, that's it. Let me go poop right now. I don't know why, because it makes your thing work in a certain way where it's just like, oh no. And it wants to get rid of everything in your body. I don't know why. I guess it's a good way for you to go poop if you're having constipation. No, literally though, which is so funny. And again, be sensitive to your body.
of variation of RR intervals also significantly decreased, but only after exposure to 528 Hz music. Tension anxiety and total mood disturbance scores were significantly reduced after exposure to 528 Hz music, while there was no significant difference following 440 Hz music. These results suggest that the influence of music on the autonomic nervous system and endocrine system varies depending on the frequency of the music, and furthermore, that 528 Hz music has an especially strong stress-reducing effect, even following only 5 minutes of exposure. Researchers found that stress levels were reduced following 5 minutes of exposure to 528 Hz music, whereas this was not the case for 440 Hz music.
By the way, 440 hertz, I believe that's the one about the devil. So that's the one that Rockefeller, they changed it from the 417, I believe, to 440. Out of the numbers on 440, what does it give you? It doesn't give you 3, it doesn't give you 6, it doesn't give you 9. It gives you 4. It gives you 8. And this is a big deal again.
They also found that mean levels of cortisol decreased and mean levels of oxytocin increased after listening to 528 Hz music. This study also proves that music and sound can be used to heal PTSD by its observation of solfeggio frequencies on the nervous system. The next frequency, 285 Hz, goes even further in its treatment of the body. 285 Hz is associated with cellular repair, helping the body's tissue and organs to regenerate. Cell repair is also useful to the skin, assisting in the healing of burns, lacerations, and other damage. This cellular repair is innately linked to the immune system, where the health of B and T cells is vitally important for fighting off viruses and diseases. The 285 Hz tone improves our health and overall well-being through the rejuvenation of the body. The knock-on effect is better immunity, higher energy levels, and all-around better well-being. The lowest tone, 174 Hz, also affects us on the lowest plane, namely that of our physical body and energy. It's noted as a natural anesthetic, relieving pain both physically and energetically, while giving our organs a greater sense of security and comfort. The last of the solfeggio frequencies is 963 Hz, which takes us to the highest plane of consciousness. This frequency connects us with the perfection of the universe, allowing us to tap into the oneness that permeates everything that is and will be. This frequency relates to the crown chakra, which is also linked to the pineal gland, which is the central nervous system. Through this, we can access high-level intuition, telepathy, psychic vision, and an intimate connection with God. The original 6 solfeggio frequencies and their said benefits are 396 Hz, associated with liberating guilt and fear; 417 Hz, associated with undoing situations and facilitating change; 528 Hz, associated with transformation and miracles, DNA repair; 639 Hz, associated with connecting and relationships; 741 Hz, associated with expression and solutions; 852 Hz, associated with returning to spiritual order. So musical frequency is simply another form of vibration. We know that music affects the mind and body. Indeed, that is why music has always been a fundamental part of human existence. From early tribal drumming to modern complex orchestral compositions, the music reflects and resonates with life and promotes well-being. There are certain frequencies within the music that have specific effects on the mind, and subsequently, the body. This is why many music therapy and healing programs are available in modern society. It's no coincidence that the Benedictine monks of the 11th century tuned their chants to the solfeggio scale. These were their prayers to a higher power, and they chose tones that resonated with their spiritual energy. The solfeggio scale has the ability to influence and transform well-being. It can help reduce emotional and physical ills and create a deeper spiritual connection with the universe. Sound healing helps to clear energetic blockages and thus facilitates healing on a physical and mental level. Some of the benefits of sound therapy include lower stress levels, fewer mood swings, lower blood pressure, lower cholesterol, and improved sleep. Over the years, sound healing has also been used to treat a number of conditions, including anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, autism, and dementia. Because of its calming and relaxing effects, solfeggio music is highly beneficial for use during meditation. It can be challenging to achieve a meditative mind state, but using these frequencies as a guide can make it easier. You can listen to solfeggio frequencies or use them with binaural beats during a sound bath meditation. Binaural beats are 2 different tones played in each ear, which tricks the brain into hearing a third, blended tone. This blended tone then encourages the brain to enter a meditative state.
By the way, I don't believe in that thing where, I mean, it's whatever. When you sit down in meditation and then you start you have earphones in your ear and then you're listening to a specific thing, because that kind of defeats the whole purpose of meditation. You know what I mean? Because you're just sitting with artificial equipment and you're like, oh, I'm gonna try to be aware of my thing or focus my attention on Allah. uh, Habib, what are you doing? You're putting artificial things in your ear. If you truly want to have these frequencies that are good and you want to attune to them, again, go to nature. Go on the beach and sit. Just sit and be. Go to the forest and sit and be. Go to a mountain. Go to a cave. A cave is very interesting, man, because that's what Muhammad SAW was. That's where he was. He was in a cave and he just sat there for a long time, and he was just meditating, which is very important. And that was the start of Islam. That was the start of this whole thing, in a cave, where he was just attuned to the frequency of the cave, which is so interesting, man. So this whole video, if you want to take like a golden nugget from this video, don't listen to music. That's the thing. Don't listen to music just for a little while, and then you'll just notice like you were the whole time you were just tranced by this music. It made your awareness so low to the point that when you stop listening to it, you'll notice almost like you've been freed, and like you unlock a type of mind where you're like, the whole time I was like, it felt like I was just asleep. The whole time I was just asleep. And then the more you stay with nature, and then you attune to the frequency of nature, which I believe, honestly, I believe is just the frequency of God, man. Because when you're in nature, you're in the raw form. And who's running nature? Allah is running nature. So it's almost like that's literally when you hear, it's beautiful. Like you attune to the sound itself. And I find that so beautiful. So just be in nature. Listen to the birds. Like even Allah says, like you look at the birds, who's the one that's making the birds go with the wings up and down? It's Ar-Rahman. It's Allah. Allah is doing that. You look at the trees do sajda to Allah. And then you're just, it's beautiful. I find that even like better than any mosque, to be honest. Any mosque. You're in nature, that is the mosque. Nature itself. And by the way, even certain mosques, like not the mosques that I have in my area, because the mosque that I have in my area is just like a building, a cube, and that's it. But like certain mosques, you'll see they actually have, somehow they understood this in the past, where when you're in it, like it has like a certain frequency where it aligns you with the will of God, aligns you with the will of Allah. And I'm like, how do they even know about that whole thing? Like, you know how there's like the dome? The dome is a very like specific structure, man. It wasn't just made there by accident. Somehow they knew all these things, which is amazing. So again, you just being in a cave or you being in nature is going to align you back. You'll also notice that's the best time where you get $1,000,000 ideas, when you are in nature. That's where you get $1,000,000 ideas, because it's like Allah is putting this idea in your mind. And then all you have to do is just attune yourself to it, and that's all you got to do. So stop listening to the artificial things, man. You'll notice even the instruments that Muhammad SAW or Islam says that are halal, these are the best instruments to listen to, because again, it's like they align you with, it's like they're raw instruments, they're not artificial. There are some instruments that are artificial, like dubstep is super artificial. That thing is super artificial. What's that thing called where they change their voice? Forgot what it's called. What's that when people sing and then it changes their voice? That is super artificial. Super, man. Again, go back to raw living. Raw living is the best living, man. Be in nature, and you'll notice like Allah is gonna guide you to what's right, just by you being in nature. Sometimes even if you pray in nature, is gonna, like you'll see. By the way, also, I usually say you'll find that your best prayers are the prayers that have no roof over you, where there is no roof. That's why if you go to Masjid al-Haram in the Kaaba, there is no roof. Masjid al-Nabawi, in the beginning, you look at images, there is no roof. There's like a small roof, but not, there's no roof. Because almost like, I don't know why, it's like when you're connected to the sky, you're connected to Allah. When you're just connected to the raw creation of Allah, you get connected to Allah. Because everything, by the way, everything is doing tasbih to Allah. But then when you change it from the raw form to a refined form, the tasbih it becomes different. The vibration, that's what tasbih is, it becomes lower. So don't be thinking all this is like shirk. Habibi, it's just everything is doing tasbih. everything is in a vibration where it's all doing tasbih to Allah. And that's so beautiful. So I'm hoping this was helpful. Hoping that now you understand the power of sound. Sound is not just this thing where, oh, you can just get exposed to it just like that because it's not going to affect you. It is going to affect you. And knowing that it's going to affect you and why it's going to affect you is very important. So I'm hoping this was helpful. If it was, man, just let me know.